Time for another edition of PRosé with Vicki Locke and Cindy Woolley from C2 Communications.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Welcome to PRosé, just a couple of PR chicks dishing about our favorite books with fabulous artists while we sip our favorite cocktails. And Cindy and I actually got into our first argument before we bring in Ellen, who I love. I told her that she and her daughter needed to watch the new Cinderella. I think it's on Netflix. I said, it's great. It's got modern music and there's a new twist on Cinderella that you'll love. So when we were getting ready to do the show today, she says, oh, I think I found a different Cinderella. It was horrible. Bridget and I hated it. And it's the Cinderella I told you to watch.
Oh my, yes. This, it was so funny because the storyline, sweet, right? So it was Camila Cabello, right? And it was musical and it was women's empowerment and it had these cute moments, but it was so sugary sweet. Like I went, oh.
Cinderella is a badass who wants to be a CEO. How bad can that be? Okay. Well, we are pretty much opposite in everything, though, truly. So I guess it's going to be, except for one thing, our guest today. We both agree on that. She is a New York Times best-selling author. Pretty much every single book she has written, I'm talking 27 books, have all been bestsellers, including her latest, Golden Girl, which I have been obsessed with. I didn't want it to end. I loved it so much. We welcome Elin Hilderbrand to PRosé.
Cheers.
Hi, ladies.
Cheers. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Very good. Happy to be here.
We are so glad to talk to you today. And before you came on the show, too, before our argument, actually, we were talking about Golden Girl. And for those of you that haven't read it, you must. But this won't give anything away. The main character, Vivi, dies. She goes to heaven. She gets to spend some time up there watching her kids. And she's granted these nudges where she can kind of change the course of certain situations. And when I read that, Ellen, I've got to tell you that there was a moment in time months ago when I was in a car driving. It was very early in the morning. There wasn't anybody on the highway. And I was approaching a light that was actually green. But for some reason, I hit the brake and a car went through the red light. And had I not hit the brake, which I swear was a nudge,
right?
Who knows what would have happened?
Oh my gosh.
When I read that in your book, I had chills because have you had a nudge?
I feel like, my part of the backstory of this novel is that my father died when I was in high school. I was a junior in high school and he was killed very suddenly in a plane crash. Horror, tragic. Awful. Like the thing that sort of defined the first part of my life. And I always have felt like he's been watching me, and numerous times, the good and the bad, like keeping me from harm, but also sort of, nudging me along in a good way. I've always felt like he's been watching. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people will relate to that, Vicki, because I feel like a lot of people feel like they're the people that they've loved that have lost have come in and sort of, save them from harm or urge them towards success.
Mm-hmm. Have you had an experience with your children where you wish you could have been the angel scooching them in the other direction?
It's so funny because only one of my children has read the book, which is my daughter, Shelby. She's the youngest. She's 15. And my boys, who are 19 and 21, are the ones that I would definitely be using the nudges for, especially my 21-year-old. And what I like to say is that the nudges are what we try and do as parents organically anyway. We try and nudge them along how we see fit. And of course, they often don't listen. So yeah, lots of times, too many to count. What I like to have said, okay, don't throw this party. my oldest son is most like Carson in the book. So Carson's a troublemaker. Max has been arrested numerous times and, for partying and just general mischief. And, I would have loved to have kept him from some of that, kept myself from some of that, really.
And I'm so sorry about your dad, 16, that had to be just so awful. Did that in some way, was that the catalyst behind you becoming a writer?
I wanted to be a writer since I've been 7 years old. So when I was in second grade, my second grade teacher at the end of the school year gave everyone an award, and my award was the top author award. And as soon as she said it, I thought, yes, I am an author. I never wanted to do anything else. So, in fact, I can remember the summer before my father died, I worked briefly in his law office, and his secretary was out on vacation, and I was like helping to file, etc. He took me out for lunch, excuse me, and we got on the elevator, and one of his colleagues said, "Oh, this is your daughter. Does she want to be a lawyer?" Or he might have asked me, like, "Do you want to be a lawyer?" And my father said, "Oh no, she is too talented to be a lawyer. She's going to be a writer." So he definitely knew that I have always wanted to be a writer. And yeah.
How special is that?
Isn't that fun?
7 years old. Another thing I love about The Golden Girl is I'm from Ohio. So I'm reading, and all of a sudden the backstory deals with Parma, which is kind of Cleveland. I'm from northeastern Ohio. And you talk about the radio station MMS, which was required listening from some of my high school teachers. I mean, seriously.
Right.
So do you have any experience in Ohio?
So the people, of course, people from Ohio ask me this all the time. One of the things, I've written so many books, and most of them have a secondary location as like a backstory or wherever. Not everybody in my novels born and raised in Nantucket. They come up from other places. So I've used a bunch of different secondary locations. I grew up outside of Philadelphia in a suburb, and I've used Philadelphia a lot. I've used New Canaan, Connecticut, which is where my twin brother lives a lot. And my publisher really has always tried to nudge me more to the Midwest, to sort of include more people. And so I wanted something that was like a suburb of Philadelphia, but more to the Midwest. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to pick a suburb of Cleveland. And I know that Parma, I've been educated now. I know Parma is its own city. I did an event in 2018 at the Cuyahoga Library, which was in Parma. I went to the Parma Tavern for dinner afterwards with a friend of mine who grew up in Cleveland. And so I thought, I'm going to set the book here. So to do my research, I went on Facebook. And on Facebook, I'm sure you're aware, there is a Facebook group for everything. And there is a Facebook group entitled Memories of Growing Up in Parma, Ohio in the 70s and 80s. I kid you not. So I go onto the Parma Facebook group and I join. And of course, the women in that Facebook group are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're on this Facebook group. We read all your books." So they were a big help.
Wow. Who knew? They're really
It's so
I guess when you write 27 books, you find some of these little tidbits here. But so you started writing. You said you had a goal of putting out, or you were putting out a book a year since 2000, and then doubling up some years. What has kept you going so strong? That this is just a passion. What inspires you to write?
Well, I've always been inspired by the island of Nantucket. And I wrote my first novel, The Beach Club. I was at the University of Iowa Writers Workshop, which is a very, esteemed program. John Irving went there. Kurt Vonnegut went there. Ann Patchett went there. Very, very esteemed place, Iowa. I get to Iowa. I'm completely miserable. I hate it. It's competitive. It's in the middle of the country. I'm from Nantucket, extremely coastal, had been living on an island, then get to the middle of the country. Thankfully, the University of Iowa had free therapy. Every week I go to therapy. I cry. I'm like, I hate it here. And the therapist says, "Well, you know what you have to do, right?" And I thought she was going to tell me I should go home. And she said, "You need to start writing about Nantucket." And so I started writing my first novel, The Beach Club. And I wrote 5 books with one publisher, and they really didn't do well, you guys. They sold, a few thousand copies here, a few thousand copies there. And then I switched publishers with my 6th book, Barefoot. And I can remember when I went into the meeting with Little Brown, they said, will you ever write about anywhere other than Nantucket? And being very eager to please, I said, oh, I'll write about anything that you want. And then after my 2nd book with Little Brown was published, they said, you should never write about anywhere but Nantucket, because this is really working. And so I wrote the summer Nantucket books for a number of years. And then they called me in the summer of 2013 and said, we've had a Christmas book fall off our Christmas list. Can you write a Christmas book in 4 weeks? And I said, no, I can't. I was in the middle of a book called The Matchmaker, which was very sort of emotionally devastating. And I was sort of into that. And I said, but when I'm finished with this, I will write a Christmas book for next year. And so I pitched them a trilogy of the Christmas books. And they said, oh, we only wanted one book. So I wrote the first Christmas book, and then I intentionally gave it no ending. And sure enough, a contract for the next 2 books followed. So I ended up, and then they asked actually for a 4th book in the Christmas trilogy. So I ended up writing 4 Christmas books. And then when that was finished, I pitched an idea of writing about the Caribbean. And again, they were sort of hesitant because they didn't want me to switch locations. But I ended up writing a trilogy set in the Virgin Islands in St. John, and those sold even better than the Christmas series. So my winter books have really been successful and like a sort of a second job. And I don't even think I answered your question with all of that talking. But, I'm very setting driven. Even though the books are character driven stories, but I love setting, and that is sort of what motivates me.
That's fantastic. Where's your next setting?
So I'm retiring, and you're not breaking this news. This news was published in the Washington Post over the summer.
Well, I was going to say,
yeah,
that can't be true. I think it's going to be kind of like the Rolling Stones, who have been on their farewell tour for 30 years?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's in your blood since you were 7.
Yeah, I know people say that. I am right now extremely devoted to retiring in 2024. And it's really changed the way I write, because I am enjoying it so much more. I'm finishing what's now going to be, I guess, my 28th book. And I can see the finish line, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and when I finish, I only have 2 left. But my reason for retiring is that I want every book to be the best work I can possibly do. And I feel like I'm writing at a very high level right now. And Nantucket is a small island. I've written so many books. I know for a fact I cannot sustain it ad infinitum. So I put 2024 as my last book, and it really feels good to me.
So what are you going to do?
I also read that your breast cancer kind of gave you a different perspective. Like, I think so many people that either lost loved ones during the pandemic, we realized life is short. So did that play a part in your decision?
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, my life definitely changed after my diagnosis and my treatment, in just that I let a lot of things go, as one does. Like when you're sort of facing your own mortality, you just realize what's important and what's not important. And I've become much more chill. I mean, so much more chill since I was sick and recovered. But the desire to retire, I don't even know what I'm going to do. Cindy asked what I'm going to do. I'm not even sure, but I know that I will not, I am consumed with work always. And especially when I was writing 2 books a year, but I find that it's true even this year when I only have 1 book. I'm just consumed with the book. And all I care about is making sure that it's good, making sure every word is perfect, making sure the characters are developed, making sure this, that, and the other. It's all I think about. My poor children, I feel terrible for them. My friends, like, I'm not spontaneous. I can't meet you for drinks. Every second of my day is planned. And so one of the things that I'm going to do once I retire is just be a regular person. And
who does that?
Yeah, try and relax.
Will you write a cookbook? Because I know you love cooking.
I might. Yeah. That's the other thing, is it opens up different projects, cooking. I do a lot of speaking events now. And of course I find them tedious because, I have to cram them in among my writing schedule. And so I'd like to do some more speaking, some more touring that isn't book driven, just like go out and like be able to go out with my readers, and spend time with them and have drinks with them. And I'm just not able to do that as much as I want to because of the constraints of my deadlines.
One of the ladies that I used to know was a vice president, very locked in schedule, and she had the opportunity for a 6-week sabbatical, and she chose to go to Paris so she could learn how to make croissants.
Oh my gosh.
Croissants. And I was like, how fantastic.
That is fantastic.
I'm going to add that to my list. So you should have a cooking sabbatical.
Yes. Not a bad idea.
And I love how much you really, truly enjoy your fans. Looking at your Facebook page, I mean, you're always with a bunch of fans around you, and you really sincerely seem to enjoy that, where not every author enjoys that.
Well, not every author is an extrovert, as I'm sure you've found. I've been quasi blessed. I am a very quiet and serious person, but I have a public persona. One of the things that happens this time of year, especially right after Labor Day, is that there's an enormous influx of Elin Hilderbrand readers because the prices drop. It's not high season. People go, the kids are back at school or back at college. The women go on their girls' trips or they bring their husbands. I get calls every single day. I got a call this afternoon from the bouncer at a bar called the Chicken Box, which appears in all of my novels. And he said, Ellen, I have fans here. Can you come? Because a lot of times I'll just drive out there and take pictures. And I said, you know what? I'm writing this afternoon, but I'll FaceTime. So we did FaceTime with the fans. But I've done, I show up, I take pictures. Somebody invited me to their wedding. I went to their wedding just like ever so briefly. Like I popped in during the dancing and took pictures with people. And I love doing that because especially the readers who say they're on Nantucket because of me, that makes me feel good. And so I do the best I can. I can't get to everybody, but I do the best I can.
Fun.
Another one of the books that I love that you wrote is 28 Summers.
Yeah.
And is that book, it should be a movie. And for some reason, the minute I started reading it, I saw Rachel McAdams as the lead in that book. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. It has been optioned for the movies by a studio called MRC that made the movie Knives Out, and they also are making The Nightingale with Kristen Hanna, and we have the same.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So Kristen and I have the same producer, a woman named Elizabeth Cantillon. She optioned 28 Summers. They're looking for a director. She and I have talked casting a little bit. But Rachel McAdams is a really good Rachel McAdams was not who we were talking about for Mallory, but it is a really good choice, actually.
Who were you talking about?
We were talking about Blake Lively.
Oh, okay. And Ryan Reynolds? Oh, wouldn't that be
That's what I said. I said, and what about, let's just get Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, that would be so fab. That would be
really fabulous.
And how much truth is in that? Other than, I think I heard that you were inspired by Same Time Next Year when you wrote that book.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's true. What I learned when I was writing it is that there's actually no way. I would have said there is no way to conduct that kind of affair as like an adult in the world because you've got too much stuff going on. Mallory, the premise, for those of you who don't know, is that this woman who lives on Nantucket has a once a year Labor Day weekend relationship with her lover who's married to a very prominent figure. And they do hit some potholes or some roadblocks and they just overcome them. But in real life, you could not conduct that kind of affair, I would have said. Then, of course, I have readers writing to me, telling me about their Same Time Next Year. I'm like, okay, great. So
readers plural?
Yes, more than one person. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Oh my gosh. You would think with social media it would be impossible.
I know. And then what about Bill Gates? I mean, then, was it this spring? And it breaks that Bill Gates, in fact, he has this exact same kind of lover that Melinda knew about and that he would just spend the weekend with her, once a year. I mean, crazy town.
It is crazy. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited for that too. I think all of your books could be movies.
Yes, I agree. I have a bunch of things I have 5 things in development and 5 projects in development. So we're just waiting. I mean, I've been at this for 21 years. So it's been a long wait, but I feel hopeful that something will eventually make it to the screen. My poor readers have been waiting a long time. So
I think we found your second career, which is going to go from writer to producer. Like you're going to be moving over to LA for a couple of months.
Right. Let's hope so.
No, not from Nantucket. It's too perfect. Well, it seems so perfect in your writing that who would want to ever leave Nantucket?
Right.
And you call your house the Money Pit. I saw you were with Mary Kay Andrews, which is a play on words from Golden Girl. But do you have a Money Pit house?
Yes, I actually do. I'm in it right now. So I got divorced in 2013, and my ex-husband, we're still very good friends. He lives in the house that we used to have, and I bought a new house. I rented in town for several years, and then I was looking for the right place, and I had 3 kids, and I needed something bigger. And I found a house just outside of town, which is a very desirable location. And I didn't really know it when I bought it, but it had been used as a summer home. It had been added onto a bunch of times. And once I moved in, everything is broken. Everything is wrong with it. The whole thing, everything is rotted, and I have been very systematically, carefully, and thoughtfully renovating it room by room. If you go on my Instagram, so I just finished. First, I put a pool in the backyard. That was the first thing I did because I had kids. Then I did the kitchen. Then I did the downstairs. Then I did the back porch. And now this coming year, I'm doing upstairs, and then I will be finished.
Yeah, sure.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah. Just like the book. It is like the book.
So speaking of your Instagram, I was trolling some of your recipes. The chilled cucumber soup and the chicken and gnocchi sounded fantastic.
Yes.
But it seems like you're the queen of soups as well. Like
I do make a lot of soups. I do make a lot of soups. I have like a whole cooking show on my Instagram called Cringe Cooking because the children found it so embarrassing when I started. I started before COVID. I started in January of 20. And they were so embarrassed that I just called it Cringe Cooking. And now everyone loves Cringe Cooking. And I don't make my own recipes up. I find them places and then I just adopt them into my repertoire as we all do. Right. And then I make them in very quick videos so that people can see them at home.
Yeah.
But you make things like mustard. Like who does that?
Who does that? That is nutty. It is the greatest mustard. First of all, the mustard itself is so delicious. And then it's such an excellent hostess gift to be able to be like, if you take it with like a stick of summer sausage, here you go. It's like instant appetizer. And I made it myself.
And Cindy was telling me that she was reading something about if we don't get our Christmas gifts now, we're not going to be able to have gifts. We can make your mustard and buy some sausage. And we're set.
And you're done. Truly.
Mustard and sausage. We're good.
Well, it has been so much fun talking to you. I just love your book so much. You look too young to have written 27 novels, in all honesty.
Thank you. You're my best friend. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And do we say cheers or?
Yes, we say cheers. Bon appetit. Watch, and you can get your books anywhere, right?
Anywhere books are sold.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of PRosé with Vicki Locke and Cindy Woolley from C2 Communications.